It seems that every day it becomes increasingly difficult to have challenging conversations with people whom we disagree with. Polarization in society, in the United States, and around the world has been increasingly extreme. We obviously differ on many issues of utmost importance, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss those issues with other human beings. While we should probably be having these intelligent conversations with each other rationally, explaining the world as we see it, and listening to what others see as reality. But instead of having these intelligent conversations and trying to come to what is actually the truth about economics and religion and the universe, these sorts of conversations tend to deteriorate into yelling and vitriol. So why can't we have these conversations? It seems if society is going to survive and humans will continue to progress into the future, if we can't coexist with people who have differing opinions from us, then human civilization will not be able to live on in the way that it currently exists. What is the point of conversation? The point of conversation can only exist for a few reasons. One, to develop a relationship in interacting with someone you care about. This is not a problem for us today. Although the rise of social media and antisocial attitudes towards our fellow human beings might be hurting this form of conversation, but that's not what this video is about. 2, to convey important information to someone else. This could be instructions on how to do a job or directions to get somewhere. This also isn't a problem, and it's even less of a problem than the first form of conversation. The third form of conversation is what this video is actually about, and it's conversation based in disagreement. The point of conversation based in disagreement is 1, to try to understand the other person's worldview and point of view, and to see the world from their perspective. And 2, is to try to come to a mutual conclusion about the discussion at hand. There are obvious disagreements about many important issues, but speaking about these issues honestly and without vitriol that seems so commonplace in society is the only way we can really come together on these issues. Obviously, over the course of one conversation, it is very difficult to change another person's opinion, and we shouldn't expect to do so. Over the course of a single conversation, all that we should aspire to should simply be to understand the other person's point of view, and for them to understand yours. This doesn't call for being dishonest about what you disagree with the other person's opinion, or what you think is wrong in the other person's opinion. It simply calls for trying to understand their point of view. You can call them out on things you think are morally reprehensible or negative, but you should still try to maintain a mode of discourse that remains rational and kind to one another. Let's take an important topic like religion. Religious people tend to be indoctrinated into their faith from birth, being told by their parents that this specific book holds the truths about the universe at large. They're raised in this faith and go to church usually once a week, learning about this particular theology. So when they enter the real world with people that disagree with them on this issue, their entire worldview has been created in a way in that they see everything through the lens of that particular theology. It may be hard at times to understand the logic behind a particular worldview that is religious. As many point out, there is no evidence for a particular religion, or there is no rationale for a particular religion, but we have to try to understand what our opponents are really feeling and what they really believe. And it is important to understand why someone believes what they believe. If we fail on this simple task of understanding why our opponents believe what they do believe, conversation will be futile. There is no reason for conversation beyond understanding someone else's point of view and to come to a mutual conclusion on that point of view. A third reason for conversations of this sort might also be to convince other people that your worldview is more rational and more based in reality than the other person's. We all view the world through a particular lens. I think we should recognize that we have access to a certain number of facts about the world. We have a sort of mental database about what the world is like and what is true. With the realization that we have access to a certain number of facts about the world, we must also recognize that we don't have access to many of the facts about the world. And therefore, one of the best ways to have a conversation, in my opinion, is to realize that you may be incorrect or mistaken about many of the beliefs and positions you hold, because you may have an incomplete view of reality and the facts at hand. Let's take a bipartisan subject like immigration. First, the left's point of view is that there is a great amount of suffering in the world. In other countries and with other peoples, compared to the United States, there is greater suffering than we have domestically. Therefore, the left's point of view in general is that through immigration, we should take in these downtrodden and poverty-stricken people so that we can help them form a better life for themselves. The left's general policy is to increase immigration and the taking in of refugees to help these people and increase well-being in general in the world. Now, this aspiration of increasing well-being in the world isn't unique to the left, however. The right, or conservatives, also share this point of view, that we need to increase well-being. It only manifests itself in different form. For example, many conservatives point out the idea that taking in too many people will cause needless stress on the American economy and may cause an excess amount of suffering in people who were already citizens of the United States, taking away jobs or increasing poverty levels or driving down wages. These are two worldviews that are in competition with each other. Now, I don't claim to be an expert on immigration or immigration policy or what effect these different policies will have on the United States and on the world. But these 2 points of view are both based on certain facts about the world at large. The left has a certain rationale based off of a certain number of facts about immigration and about well-being and suffering. The same can be said for conservatives and Republicans on the other side of the political spectrum and on the other side of this particular issue, immigration. Now, this sort of difference in opinion on topics like immigration can be extended to almost every issue you can think of. Let me give you another example. Continuing the discussion of religion that I started earlier, religious people and non-religious people have clear disagreements. A religious person may say, well, the world exists, and the universe exists, and you can't explain why it exists. The fact that things exist, and we have no explanation for why they exist, proves that there must be something before all of this. There cannot be a cause without an effect. Therefore, a God must have created the universe, and must have existed before, during, and after the existence of our universe. This is a rationale for a particular worldview. Now, an atheist or someone on the other side of the debate may say that ignorance of an issue is not evidence for a particular worldview. For example, saying we do not know something shouldn't be ended with a statement that we know something. Our ignorance about our existence and the birth of the universe shouldn't be used as evidence of lack of ignorance. Not knowing something shouldn't be used as evidence for knowing something. These are the two sides on the debate regarding religion, and I obviously fall more towards the side against religion, as it is based on unsubstantiated claims without evidence and pretends to know what we clearly do not know. This being said, it is an important conversation that we need to have, as we need to have many important conversations with the people we disagree with. Let's take a look at modern politics in the United States. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party seem completely gridlocked on almost every important issue facing our country. The inability to speak about issues like abortion, about the free market versus social programs, about domestic policy and about foreign policy, about criminal justice, and about the usefulness of using military force to change other societies, is only causing trouble in the United States. Our inability to talk about all these things is what causes increasing polarization. You may know from social psychology that when people take different sides on a debate, polarization tends to increase. I think this is definitely true, but only when we refuse to accept that there is any validity to an opponent's worldview, or that there could be validity. Now, this is not a case for faux centrism. I think that outright centrism on every issue is actually an unintelligent position to take. There are right and wrong answers to all of the questions we have about the economy, about climate change, about pollution, about domestic policy, about the usefulness of our current foreign policy. There are right and wrong answers, and to claim centrism on any one issue is to not take a point of view. Now, there is a difference between admitting you don't know for sure about nearly anything and not taking a position on an issue. I think we should all take clear, concise positions on all issues based on the number of facts we have access to. Honest evaluation of the facts we have at hand is our best way of coming to the truth. And when in a debate or conversation with someone we disagree with, we should not only hope to convince them or to come to a mutually agreed on decision, but we should hope that our views are changed by our opponents, that our opponent who disagrees with us will bring up a fact we have not had access to in the past, and therefore, with that new fact, we can adjust our worldview and our beliefs so that we can come closer to the truth. That is really what all of this is about. Speaking with someone that we disagree with should fundamentally be about coming to the truth. We as human beings have always been curious about the world around us, and about our origins, and about what's true and false. This is what's created religion and philosophy and modern science, which happens to be, in the modern day, the best way we've come up with to figure out what's true and what's false. Because of this curiosity seemingly intrinsic to the human psyche, we should be completely committed to having rational, calm discussions with people we disagree with. This is intensely important because as we continue into the future, our inability to have hard conversations could inevitably be our downfall. Hello, I'm Kendall Butler, and this has been the first episode of Thinking Out Loud. If you enjoyed my content, please like, comment, subscribe, and have a nice day.